Hi, Bill. So, welcome to the inaugural episode of Trial to Paid podcast. Thank you for being my first guest. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, so just to kind of kick things off, as we're going to talk about your product and kind of your latest startup, Rybbit. But just to kind of kick things off, just something I thought I'd do with kind of people who come on the show is just kind of ask for sort of like a kind of guiding principle, or sort of like a philosophy or sort of way of thinking about things. Maybe there's just a kind of way that you generally approach when you're building, just to kind of keep you sort of on track.
Yeah. So one thing I keep in mind is that I'm the type of person that like I have to build something I'm genuinely interested in and genuinely believe in, and and I feel like if I can do that, then I'll be able to survive any like ups or downs, because I tend to only build things that I personally want to use and I personally do use as well. Because when people say that like usually for like one person startups, like personal projects and stuff, you don't really ever die unless you give up, because it doesn't really cost you anything. Like there's no like operational costs or anything. It's most purely just motivation. And for some people, it's just that like as long as if you can stay alive for like however long, you'll be able to make it.
Yeah, and that's just a really good kind of message there. It's like I'd say that's something that's taken me a lot longer to figure out. You're kind of way ahead of me on that. I feel like I don't know, I've had some successes and built some things, but not necessarily, I don't know, building for myself, but that sounds a little bit selfish. But I think, as you say, it's kind of ultimately not, because if it means you stay the course, then it's kind of the right way to kind of approach it.
Yeah, I think it differs obviously like for every single situation. But for me personally, like it's pretty obvious. It was pretty obvious when I started that, because if I wasn't interested in doing something, I just would not be able to do it. So like I couldn't even start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally get that. I think it's kind of like bit different for me, because to some extent I'm just kind of happy building, kind of happy coding, but kind of having said that, when you're kind of doing the same thing for a long time, maybe building the same thing or kind of maintaining something for a long time, and it gets a bit the same, and you kind of think, why did I even start this in the first place? And if that reason's not there, then that's when, okay, I need to do something else. So that's really cool. Right. So so we're going to be talking about Rybbit. I'm saying that right? Yeah, it's like the frog.
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
like the frog sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting thing is like a lot of people don't understand what it means, so it's just a random name for them. But usually, if you're American or from the UK, it's
Yeah.
it's understandable.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's already like, it's memorable, so I haven't forgotten it. It's easy to say. So we're going to be talking about that, and sort of just kind of by way of a kind of brief overview. So as I understand it, it's a web analytics product. I know you're kind of promoting it as sort of Google Analytics replacement. I mean, just like my initial look at it, I think there's a bit more to it than that.
Yes.
Because I don't much like using Google Analytics. So, but yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a little bit. Just wanted to give a little sort of preview there. But what I sort of thought we could do kind of before we get into that is just kind of, I mean, you've already given a little bit of a kind of insight into kind of what drives you, but it'd be really interesting just to kind of get a sense for your backstory, really, because obviously, you're young. If you don't mind me asking, you're like early 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm more closer to mid 20s. I'm 24.
Yeah. So, you kind of, compared to an old dinosaur like me, like you haven't been coding like that long, I guess. I mean, when did you sort of start coding?
I wasn't one of those kids that like coded when they were like 5 years old, and like in high school did all this programming stuff. I actually only started coding my first year of college.
Oh, okay.
So during high school, I like built WordPress websites, but I never learned how to code. Actually in high school, I thought it was scary. Like I thought it was too dumb to code, which is like,
Whoa. Yeah.
which is sort of odd looking back. But
sure.
so actually the reason I did computer science in college was because my mom told me it was a good field. So like honestly, like of course, like now I love what I do, but it didn't really come from it didn't really come from childhood passion.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So actually, you literally didn't like write any code until your first year at college.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty like good at using computers and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I was pretty computer literate, but I did not know how to code at all.
It's really interesting. So did you feel like you kind of wanted to code, but you didn't think that it was something that you could do or that you would be allowed to do? Or
Uh, for some reason, I just thought it was too hard always,
yeah,
and the only reason I went into computer science was because of the career opportunities.
yeah. But it seems like you found a little bit more to it
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
I think I got lucky because if I didn't really build my first project, I probably would just be just a software engineer, like just for the rest of my life.
yep. Got it. Cool. Okay. So right. So you got into coding first year of college, and then so would you say like when you started doing it, you like kind of light bulbs went on? You thought this is really cool. I could build stuff.
Yeah, I was actually not that good.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the type of kid to get like 4.0 GPAs in college. I was like just a very average student. I sort of struggled in my classes. I wasn't the worst, but I was far from the best. I think it's mostly because I just don't learn well in a school environment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And kind of what were you sort of strong in some other areas that made you think you might be good at? I mean, to go and do it in college, you must like some math or something like that you were strong
Yeah.
in, or
Uh,
not that I think you need to be strong in math to do programming. I don't at all. I'm
yeah.
too,
I mean, I was decent at math, but
yeah,
I wasn't that strong in anything. Of course, like I was like a good student. I went to a
yeah,
good university, but I mean, at that point, I didn't really feel like I had anything like special about me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was literally like your parents just kind of suggesting it and
Yeah.
nudging you
I
that
mean,
way.
it seems pretty sad. Like, I mean, back then, I didn't really think that high of myself because like when you're in
Yeah,
a school environment, like it's completely different from like from doing like the businesses. So if you have
yeah,
business skills, like it does not really translate over at all.
yeah. So were there people like before you decided to go to college and do computer science? Were there people around you who you knew who could code, and you kind of thought you couldn't do what they did,
Um, I
or
mean,
just no one was really kind
there
of
was there were probably were people in high school that were really good. I just didn't know who they were. I know there were like AP computer science classes in college in high school,
yep,
but I didn't take them because I didn't think back then that was the path I was going into. I sort of didn't really know what I was going to do. My dad is an engineer,
yep,
but so I just sort of thought I'd just become like him. I actually was doing like trying to do like a dual business computer science degree in college. So I actually got into the business school and I did computer science at the same time. But after a year, I realized that like business, you don't really learn anything in school. So I
yeah. That's
yeah.
true. I mean, do you think there's like it's probably another topic really, but do you think there's something about a kind of bit of a culture of like elitism these days around software engineering, and kind of maybe you just felt like you couldn't be a part of that?
Uh, well, back then I didn't really know anything about it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting is that like maybe 20 years ago, like people that went into software engineering, like computer science tech, they were like the weird kids that like generally like that actually enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's sort of like the same people that do investment
Yeah.
banking and
I
like
get it.
consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it because
Yeah.
I just think back. I mean, I did start. I'm not like some kind of whatever polyglot or something,
Yeah.
but I mean, I did start messing around with computers when I was like 6. But it was
Yeah.
more because back then it was all new. Kind of no one was really doing it, and you just get a kind of old computer and you just kind of get onto wherever you can type in some kind of basic code, and you just have to mess around. I mean, to some extent, to even play a game, you had to type it in yourself to
Yeah.
play it. So
Yeah.
you didn't really have any choice, but. Yeah, but that's interesting. Okay, and so I guess it's funny because in a way, in hindsight, you might think, "Oh, I didn't really." Would you think you needed college? Because in a way, it kind of gave you that confidence, didn't it, to kind of think you could do it?
I mean, there's like in my, I mean, in the U.S., like if you don't go to college, like I can't imagine how like it's so rare for someone not to go to college. Like
Right.
even if you're like Bill Gates or Mark
Hmm.
Zuckerberg, you go to Harvard for a year and you drop
Yeah.
out. Like you have to signal that you're able to get into college,
Yeah.
and if you're like cracked and you go to Harvard, oh, sure, yeah, yeah,
They seem to like to tell us that, well, tell you guys that you shouldn't be going to college, but they all went.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the strange thing about it. Um, okay, and so kind of moving on from that. So you've had I just had a quick peek on your LinkedIn. So you've had like a couple of roles. You did like an internship, and um, was that help? Was that part of college, or was that afterwards?
Internships in the U.S., like in tech, you do them in the summer break.
Yeah.
So it's not part of college, but I mean, usually it's really important to find internships if you want to find a full-time job.
Yep.
So I did an internship at a fintech app, a fintech startup called Truebill, and then I also did an internship at Anduril, this
Yep.
defense tech, which I've also been working here for the past 3 years.
Okay, so and that's where you are now, and
Yeah.
you're sort of doing that alongside your two businesses, right? And we'll just touch
Yes.
briefly on the other
Yeah.
business. And you work remotely.
No, I work in person, but most of my team isn't here, so I don't have to go in every single day.
Okay, nice. So okay, so yeah, so I mean, was there kind of some point sort of along that? Well, I suppose you've always had a kind of an idea that you might like to be involved in kind of business entrepreneurship, I
Yeah.
guess. So was there a point where you kind of the two came together and you thought, maybe I could build a business, building products, coding?
Yeah. So it comes from, it's not really a linear path. So how it started was that in high school, me and my friend, we did like SEO. We tried to build basically Amazon affiliate sites.
Okay,
So
yeah,
we would try to rank for like certain keywords. I think and like write blogs, and like, in those blogs will like advertise products on Amazon. Our first site was, I think we were selling above ground pools. I think it was like
oh
top
yeah,
abovegroundpools.com. And then our second site was called pandatechie.com, which sold tech products.
yep,
So we built those sites using WordPress. We didn't use any like PHP code or anything. That just pure like using the WordPress
yep,
GUI. Ended up making a couple $1,000, but we were using sort of black hat SEO. So our listings got nuked by Google after a few months, which is kind of sad because like,
yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and I guess that's got
yeah.
harder and harder to kind of do over the
Yeah, I
years,
mean,
isn't it?
nowadays it's all AI slop, so
Yeah,
it's like it's impossible to
just
compete
forget
with
it.
that. Like, yeah, back then you could at least like write stuff.
So I guess would you count those as, well? They weren't really failures, were they? The kind of,
Yeah, I mean, I was in high school, so I had no idea what was going on. So I mean,
yeah,
even like back then, like a couple that I was in high school, it's insane, right? Uh,
yeah,
but after that, after like we got shut down by Google, so I just like went back to going to school, like doing one classes and taking tests and stuff.
yeah,
So um, for the most part, I didn't really do anything like entrepreneurial, just follow like the standard like high school to college route.
yeah.
Yeah. So in college, the reason like if we go to my my other project to
Yep,
Tamilo.gg, so
yep.
that started in college, not because I wanted to become like not because I wanted to build a business, but because I just wanted to get more experience in coding actually. So
Okay.
so Tamilo.gg is a stat site for World of Tanks, which is a multiplayer game. And back then, I was using a different site called Watt Labs, and it was a site that I really liked. So I just basically set out to build a clone of Watt Labs, and then just put it on my resume to find internships. So like the original purpose of Technology was purely to boost my resume.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was and this was like a video game that you were really into at the time, yeah?
Yeah, I've been playing video games since like high school. So
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit on that. I mean, like we said, quite possibly because Technology G is, and that's good game, isn't it? Right? Is that what that is? It's like GG good game.
yeah, well, GG is like the top level domain most
Yeah.
gaming sites use, and tomato is sort of an inside joke for people inside the game.
Yeah. You'd have to be there, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. And so the idea was just to kind of build something. I mean, was that sort of quite? So I mean, we sort of said maybe we'll go into this potentially in another episode. It's probably quite a bit of depth here. So
Yeah.
one thing is that this is actually still a kind of. I mean, this is a business now, right? You're making some decent kind of revenue from this.
Yes, it's a business now. It's been slowly growing for the past 5 years. Yeah, so I'm making around 7K per month, around 2K from ads and 5K from my Patreon.
Right. Okay. And that's just like gamers just sort of supporting the site basically because they like it.
Yeah.
Do they get a little bit of an inside kind of deal?
Yeah. So for Patreon, you get extra features if you bot by it, and for ads, it's just for people that go on the site.
Yeah. And okay, and I guess worth touching on that. So it's a relatively kind of high traffic site, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty high traffic. It gets around 1.5 million sessions a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of the kind of what you actually built there, because I mean, was that quite challenging, and did that then equip you to kind of move on to your next product?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first real product I made. So I made it during COVID in 2020 when we were at home and had nothing else to do.
Yep.
So it was also my first project that wasn't like my first like real project that wasn't part of school. Yeah, so it was really hard because I had no idea how to. And in school, you learn like in my first like intro classes in university, we learned how to like write C++, and
Yeah.
this was JavaScript with React and Node.js, and we also had to learn. I also had to learn SQL
Yeah.
to do this. So, I mean, the first few months were very hard, but eventually, like, it got much easier.
Yeah, and so I mean, essentially this app sits. I mean, it's crunching a lot of data, right, from all the games that are being played.
Yeah, it's a ton of data actually. Like, I mean, right now I have just a Postgres database that has probably like 1.5 terabytes of pure
Well,
just
yeah.
data. Some tables have like 1 or 2 billion rows, so it's grown to be quite a beast.
Yeah, and it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, well, hopefully not, because
Yeah.
I'm at the point where like I'm just deleting stuff when it gets too old, because I just don't want to spend my time just
Right.
doing that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, just curious. So, how if that's obviously you didn't create the game. So how do you kind of get the data from the games? How does that work?
Yeah, so they have a public API where you can fetch players' stats from. So that's what I use.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's really interesting, and yeah, I can get a feeling for kind of how that kind of set you up nicely for being able to work on to be able to build Rybbit. So we'll move on to that. so this product Rybbit. So I mean, obviously I have a rough idea, but if you could tell me kind of what is it, who's it for, and why do they need it?
Yeah, so it's a web analytics alternative to Google Analytics. It's open source, and I built it for just anyone that was that found Google Analytics or any like similar like platform that was too complicated. I wanted to build a simpler platform, and even though like many simpler platforms exist, like Plausible or Umami or Fathom, I wanted to build something that had like features that was just beyond like a basic a basic dashboard. So like in the market, I sort of saw like on one side you had these like enterprise platforms which are like very complex and expensive, and then on the other side like you had like very easy to use platforms, but beyond a basic dashboard there were no further insights. So I thought that maybe in the middle there was sort of a balance I could strike, and there was an unfilled and there was like unfilled demand there, because certainly from my site to domain.gg there was that demand.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because, I mean, I know you mentioned Plausible, I think it was another one, but I mean, I've used Fathom and I've used Google Analytics. I say I've used Google Analytics. I always set it up because, you just kind of have to, particularly if like you're working with like, you might be, if you're like working with a marketer or somebody who knows the way around it, then it's useful to have it there. But for me, if I just want to go on there and just get a sense of kind of how, what kind of traffic the site's getting and what pages and, so things like that, it's just, I came across Fathom a few years ago and I tend to use it on sort of new sites. And this isn't an area I know a lot about, but I've certainly gone on there a few times and just been like, this is great, but you got to go to click something and it doesn't click through to anything. There's just there's no extra depth there.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see there's sort of a gap there. That's what it looks like to me for something in the middle. So that makes sense. And so when you've launched quite recently, that's right?
I launched around a month ago, around 35 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, not long at all. And it's been quite a sort of quick growth initially, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've some of the numbers are kind of publicly available anyway, but just for kind of the listeners, in terms of kind of users so far, also paying customers, and kind of what kind of MRR you've gone up to so far.
Yeah. So I've had around like 900 like either trial or free tier signups, and of those I have around like 23 customers that have converted. So current MRR I'd say is maybe around $500. But so far the revenue is like 1.6K so far, because like some people have signed up for annual deals.
Annual, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool. That makes sense. And we've already, as we already discussed, I mean, this doesn't sort of change. I mean, obviously this kind of adds on to your Tomato GG income. So, maybe you're, a little bit higher, but it's still not realistic. It's not enough for you to be able to sort of go on this full time.
No,
but is that something that maybe you're thinking about, maybe in I don't know, a few months, or if it does continue growing?
Well, if I don't change anything, I'm sure it'll continue to grow, but it's not gonna be able to replace my income, like my full-time job income in a few months.
Yeah.
But so it's either like I just grind this out for a couple of years without changing much, or I sort of can pivot into more of a enterprisey field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so, in terms of the kind of positioning of it, obviously you've said that it's kind of kind of simpler than Google Analytics, but maybe has a bit more going than, say, a Fathom.
Yeah.
So do you have any kind of direct competitors more in that kind of middle?
Yeah. Well, I definitely, there's a couple of products that are pretty similar to mine. I think Umami is probably the one that's the most similar. They've actually copied like my design in their latest versions, which is annoying, but it's also flattering. Yeah. So they're pretty similarly positioned to me, but I think I'll be able to outpace them in the quality and amount of features that I ship.
Yeah, and have you got any sense for kind of whether they're funded or bootstrapped, and whether they have a bigger team, or?
They're pretty public about their team. They're open source as well. From what I can see, they're founded by 3 brothers in the Bay Area, and they've been around since I think 2020, and they've raised 1.5 million in a seed round, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and were you sort of looking at them somewhat when you were kind of putting together the plan for Rybbit for launching it? Did that feed into why you went open source?
Yeah, well, the reason I will open source is just because there's a bunch of alternatives that are already open source. So there's no reason to not be open source, because if someone wanted to, if someone just wanted to copy your code, I mean, there's already a bunch of different open source ones available. So I feel like if you're in a field where everyone is open source, to not be open source is just putting yourself at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. So, yeah. So, in terms of the kind of the idea, I suppose it wasn't so much that you kind of went and kind of looked for an idea. It was more that your idea came from what you were doing with Tomato. Is that right, Tomato GG?
Yeah. It's a pretty similar stack and sort of product as Tomato. So my 4 or 5 years of experience on Tomato definitely helped me build this. If I was just building this from scratch, like it would take me a long time, and it would not be that good. So I definitely like it definitely helped me a lot that I was building on top of something. Well, on top of what I learned from Tomato. Yeah.
I guess in a sense you were sort of your own kind of first customer, because I think you were looking for something, weren't you, to use with Tomato, right?
I was using Plausible and Google Analytics, and I wasn't happy with either of them.
Yeah. And I mean, just having had like a brief play with it, I mean, I was sort of seeing some things that looked like some maybe unique features, like some of the visualizations. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. I think the one you're talking about is probably the globe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not actually
pretty cool.
that's not unique though. It's not.
No?
I've kind of like copied that from someone else as well. But like it's sort of like it's just sort of a. I mean, there's no like truly unique features that it's very hard to find something that's truly unique.
Yeah.
But I've done a ton of research on what my competitors are, and I sort of just grabbed the best feature from every single one and put them on my product.
Yeah. That's a good strategy. Cool. And then, so in terms of kind of, did you do any kind of validation of the idea before you started building it, or did you just figure you needed it, so probably other people would?
Yeah, I didn't follow the advice to do validation because I mean it's already a very crowded market, and there's already many like I was just building pretty much a clone. At least at first, I was building a clone of something that was already there. So I just went with it.
Yeah, I guess you had an instinct that you were going to do it slightly differently, right? Because if it was an exact clone, then what would be the point?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people that do exact clones. Like if you go on these comparison sites, you'll see a bunch of different platforms that like are just crappier versions of Plausible or Fathom, and they get nowhere because they're worse in every single way. So yeah. So I knew that I had to like differentiate myself in some way, and the way I would do it is just by creating like just a better experience overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was like, I haven't looked around that much lately for web analytics products, but I had a little look at Plausible and one or two others before the call. And I think the thing that kind of jumps out at me with your, the way that you've put together I guess what you call your marketing site, but it very much reminds me of kind of some of the kind of really kind of slick sort of dev tools out there at the moment. It's got that kind of familiar sort of dark mode look.
Yeah.
And everything is really, I don't know, just looks kind of pixel perfect to me. You can't really fault anything on there. And I guess that sort of then gives you that sense that probably the product is just going to be like really well thought out, work really well. So did you take quite a lot of time on that design? Did you do that design yourself?
Yes, I did that myself. The actual site for most of course I put like more work and after, but most of probably 80% of the marketing site was done in a day. So it's I sort of just kind of vibe coded it in Cursor actually. So it was not as hard as I thought it would be, and I felt like it turned out pretty good. But it was after I only made it after like a couple months of just like researching like how other people did it, and thinking in my head about like how like what would make it work well.
Yeah. So, so when you say like you did some vibe coding there, was that just of the kind of like the marketing side and the UX side, or did you also use some, sort of AI tools on sort of the back end stuff as well?
I mean, I definitely use AI tools a lot on my actual product overall, but all of the core features, I either like I don't just like ask it to like do this thing and I leave. But for some features, it's very much like AI coded. For some like the non-essential features, but for all the core features and especially stuff that people see, like you still have to like it has to be a ton of manual input on it to make
Yeah,
it
for sure.
look good.
Yep, yep. Okay. So yeah, so was there I guess was there kind of an MVP or like a prototype that you kind of put in front of people, or did you kind of like just build the kind of V1 and get it to pretty much how it is now before launching it?
Well, I started this in January, so around
Yeah.
5 months ago, and I showed my friends and people I knew about it. So I probably showed maybe like 6, 7 people, but there was no like pre-launch like public beta or anything. I just sort of just like when it felt right, I launched it. And I guess one thing I did for my launch is that it was probably more polished than most
Yeah.
launches. Like I had my open source repo, I had like docs, I had like a fully built out like payment platform using Stripe, and I also had like docs for self-hosting it.
Yeah. So did you kind of at what point did you make the repo public?
Yeah, I made it public a couple months before I launched, but because I didn't like say anything, I only sent to my friends. But when I launched, when I like officially launched, I just made a few Reddit posts, and
Yeah.
that's sort of how it became popular.
Yeah. Okay. So just yeah, sticking with the product for a minute then. So you started it in January. You launched. You said I can't remember when you said, but very recently.
I launched it in early May, so it's been around
Yeah.
a month.
So okay. So it sort of took you about 4 to 5 months to get it to a point where you were
Yeah.
happy. Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned that you used like some AI tools, Cursor and the vibe coding and so on, but and then the actual sort of stack. So it's like a Node.js, and then is that right? And then what are you using on the front end? Are you using any
Yeah.
frameworks, anything like that?
I'm using a very like popular stack right now. So on the front end, it's Next.js, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS,
Yeah.
and then on the back end, I use Node with TypeScript, Fastify for my server, and
Yeah.
for my databases, I use Postgres for my relational data, and for my time series data, I use ClickHouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great. And then and with Tailwind, do you use any kind of frameworks or sort of templates or anything like that on top of that, or
Yeah,
you just
I use a customized Shadcn.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Yes, I've heard. Oh, yeah, I've heard good things. And now I think about it, when I've been looking at Shadcn, I can
yeah,
see
yeah.
similarities. Yeah, yeah, very nice. And that's interesting as well that you kind of instinctively went towards SQL for kind of like just the core, sort of, I guess the kind of CRUD side of it. Yeah, the kind
Yeah.
of rather than a kind of no SQL.
Yeah, I've always been SQL.
Yeah,
For Tomato, I just decided to use Postgres, and that's just what I've been using since.
yeah. No, it's interesting. Seems like SQL is getting a bit of a comeback these days, because for a while, it's just if you used SQL, you were doing it wrong. Apparently.
Maybe that was maybe that sort of predates me, because when I sort of came into the field in 2019,
Yeah.
like it was Postgres and SQL were already on the way back.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, there was definitely a good while where I just felt like if I said SQL, then people would look at me strange for about 10 years. But I'm glad SQL's back. So good. So on the open source side of things, and I mentioned that you kind of did it that way because you felt that if you didn't, then whatever, someone would just use one that is open source. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it mainly just goes down to I had no idea on how to do distribution if it was not open source. Like I was completely clueless, and I also didn't want to put in an effort to do it. Yeah, because
So did you have some experience like with distribution through open source? Was that something you did on Tomato GG?
no,
But
no,
then no.
Tomato's not open source, so I had no experience with open source, so it was actually quite scary for me to do it because like once you're open source, like people can see your code, and if your code sucks, like I'm afraid they'll be like your code sucks,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I still haven't gotten over that one. It's the one
Yeah.
thing I want to do an open source thing, but I'm still not there. And I'm older than you, and I still think like, yeah, what are they going to think of my code? But yeah, so okay, so was there some kind of success that you'd seen, with a kind of an open source launch that you looked at and thought, I could use that kind of playbook, if you like?
Yeah, so it's actually something I wanted to talk about. So around 2 years ago, one of my friends created an open source search platform, and I mean it exploded pretty quick. Like it was an enterprise search with AI, so
Yeah.
it exploded pretty quick, and he got into YC, and he was able to
Okay.
raise a $10 million seed round, I think. So
Yeah.
and that was just like in course of a year, he went from having nothing to raising 10 million in a year. So I was like, open source is the way to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because it's interesting because one thing I'm trying to work out, obviously, is it has worked on, it's growing quite quickly. Obviously, it remains to be seen now where it goes from here, right? You don't kind of know yet, but it's growing for the time being. But then on the one hand, though, you wanted to build a product that's sort of simple, but then you've got this kind of self-hosted option with it, haven't you? So you don't have to pay for it, which is nice. But then on the other hand, if someone's in the market with something very simple and like doesn't have the first clue about kind of open source and kind of self-hosting and so on, I suppose for them, they've got the paid option, right? That's kind of the idea? I mean, would generally someone who's technical self-host it, or do you think they would still maybe just pay?
Well, I'm probably gonna eventually add more features that are only available in the paid version. Currently, like there's a couple features that are only for the paid version, but in the future, I'll sort of like create more of an incentive to pay for it. Yeah, and for self-hosting, like it's like it doesn't really align of like having something that's super simple, but you have to self-host it to use it, because self-hosting something I've tried to make it as easy as possible, but you still have to set up the server and stuff.
I suppose there's one possibility there, because it's not like it used to be that, we had a lot of things like this that were self-hosted, and you would have seen it if you kind of your WordPress days, you go to a host and you can kind of one-click install WordPress, one-click install this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see this as being something that you could kind of would turn up on there as a one-click install, and there'd be nothing, you couldn't stop them from offering that and charging for it themselves. But I suppose you could still kind of hold this kind of, if you want some extra features, then maybe you need a different license code or something.
Yeah, well, I have a AGPL v3, so unless they open source everything,
right?
Unless they open source their modifications, they can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was possible. So you've got like an open source license that, means what? They can't charge. They can't charge. So no kind of commercial use, or
they can charge for commercial use. It just has to be licensed under the same thing. So like if they make if they add stuff to it, like to facilitate their use case, they have to open source it under the same license.
Okay. That's good. Um, right. So, and I'm just think so. It's kind of branding you got there. You got the kind of Rybbit logo. Is that something? Did you design it yourself? Like that designed or?
Yeah, so actually my girlfriend designed that for me. So previously, before launch, it was just a frog emoji. But I knew like after launch, I had to be an actual like design.
Yeah, she did a nice job. Yeah, it's really good. Um, cool. So, as you said, you made the repo public a little before the launch, and now you've got, because I had a look, and you've got, I think it's like 16 or so contributors.
Yeah, I have around a dozen contributors and around 6.6K stars last time I
Yes.
checked. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So at this point, you have. I mean, how active are those contributors? Are they kind of helping you quite a lot?
There's no like, I mean, it's mostly just me. I think
Yeah.
the contributors they're helping a bit, but 90% of it is still driven by me.
Yeah, yeah, and it was 100% you to kind of get the
Yeah.
get an initial product built. Um, yeah, and kind of one thought I get, one final thought on the open source side of things is like, have you kind of had any sort of pushback from the community that, that you're charging for an open source product? I know it's not kind of unusual these days. You're not really charging for open source products as such. You're kind of
Yeah.
charging to host it, I guess. But has there been any pushback on that?
No, it's a pretty common model nowadays, so I think people are used to it. I do have, I mean, some people are asking me like why like certain features are not available on the self-hosted version, but it's less so them complaining, more so than I'm not being like fully transparent about what's available or not. I haven't updated my docs or anything, so I don't think people have had a problem.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they can self-host it if they want
Yeah.
it for free, I guess. And is the marketing site, is that in the repo?
Yes, everything is in the same
Yeah.
repo.
And was that a kind of did you think about not having that side of it in the repo? Because it was like even like the Stripe integration, everything is all that in the same.
Yeah, it's on the same, which is kind of scary, but I did it because otherwise it'd be really complicated, and I wanted to be able
Yeah.
to move fast.
Makes sense. Great. Okay. So now just kind of thinking about the sort of launch itself. So you mentioned you did some initial kind of Reddit posts to kind of get the word out. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So the first post I made was on r/side project. So that one, like, it got pretty popular. It got like a couple hundred comments, probably like maybe like 1,000 likes. But then my account got banned after a
Oh,
day. So I got banned for self-promotion, which kind of sucks because I kind of
isn't
got,
everyone doing that on there?
yeah, I don't know why. It just got banned. So it sort of killed my momentum for the first day. But then like after that, I used my alt to post on different subreddits. And then like the post I made on my alt actually blew up more, especially the one on r/self-hosted. So that's sort of what that was the viral push that got me like viral on X and on Hacker News and a bunch of like Chinese, Korean, and Japanese sites. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but it was pretty popular for around maybe 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned on your Indie Hackers post that did you post on Hacker News as well?
I didn't post on Hacker News. Somebody probably found my project and posted it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was this basically all you did to kind of get the word out at that point?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was like I just made a bunch of posts and that's it. Yeah.
And then you just got like a flood of, I mean, did you get a flood of sort of sign-ups, or were you more looking at the kind of, because, okay, see, because you got the paid product and you got
Yeah.
the self-hosted and then you got
Yeah.
the free,
Yeah.
right? So was it a lot of sign-ups for free?
Yeah, in the first few days, I probably got like a couple hundred signs for free, and of course, like there's gonna be a lot more people that are just on a repo or trying to self-host it, just based on like the communities where I posted it. Like if you post it in Hacker News, like they're going to want to be able to self-host it. So I wasn't optimizing for like which audiences were the most likely to convert to my paid plan. I was just trying to get it to as big of of a general audience as possible.
Yeah, okay. So have you got some ideas now about sort of trying to push a little outside of that kind of self-hosted kind of sort of techie space to try and get more people who would be likely to pay?
Yeah, it's really hard because I mean, you can get away with like advertising your product if it's open source really easily, but if it's just a paid SaaS product, you'll get banned from anywhere, or you'll get banned, or like people won't care. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my strategy is to have like a really big funnel, but even if like the bottom funnel is really small, at least like hopefully the volume at the top is going to make up for it.
I don't know. Have you thought about doing anything on LinkedIn? Might be quite a good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of technical people, and there's a lot of non-technical people on there, and they're also interested in seeing what people are building and things. And this is such a kind of general. The market for this is so big, isn't it? I mean, anyone who's got a website.
Yeah. Eventually, I mean, I don't want people like finding out like I'm doing this at work. Honestly, that's the main reason. Yeah.
They don't know.
I mean,
you don't find out that you're doing it at work.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not like hiding it. My GitHub is public. I'm doing a podcast right now, but I don't want to like be just posting it on LinkedIn and my manager see that like I'm just like spending all my time doing this. Yeah.
That's the difficult thing about LinkedIn, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you haven't done any kind of paid ads or anything like that.
No, I feel like that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for me.
Yeah, I can see that. And you made a conscious decision to go for the freemium rather than like a free trial.
Yeah. Initially I had a free trial, but like even after like almost 2 weeks since launch, because my trial was 2 weeks, and even after like 12 days, like 0 people had signed up. So I was like, this is not working. So and then I converted to a free tier, and after that, like I got a bunch of signups in like the few days after. So the free trial did not really work for me.
Well, it's interesting though that changing it and immediately you did see some paid signups. So
yeah.
And I mean, are you at all concerned, like with the freemium side, if you get a lot of people who stay free, and is it going to end up being a bit costly for you to kind of keep all their data?
No, my free tier is pretty limited. It's only a couple thousand events a month. So for free users, it's basically free for me.
Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Great. And how about on the kind of support side? Are you finding you having to do much work there yet?
Yeah, I've had most of the support has been for open source, because people run into issues all the time trying to self-host it. But for the paid tier on cloud, there's not many issues because it's all the same.
That's kind of ironic then. You're not having to support the customers who are paying you.
Yeah.
The ones who aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you sort of, I guess, how do you handle that? Because I guess technically it's open source and it's it's a community thing, isn't it? So you can't say, well,
like I put some effort to it. I put some effort into it, but I know that like it's not something that's super important. So like if it's something that I see the issue or bug report, if it's an actual bug with the product itself, I'll fix it, of course.
Yeah. But
if it's just because like he deployed it in a weird way and like there's some error that I don't understand, I won't do anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let's. Yeah. Bill, I just realised we're at an hour. Have you got like another 10 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. All right. So what we'll do, we'll look at. I think it'd just be interesting to know a little bit more about kind of what you kind of learned, what you've learned so far.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of what went well, what didn't go so well, and maybe what the kind of hardest thing was to kind of pull off.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, it's gone better than I expected. I remember like when I first started, my goal by the end of the year 2025 was to get 1K stars on GitHub, and I passed that pretty much on like the first 2 days, so I'm happy about that. I mean, most things have gone well, honestly, so I'm pretty happy about that, and for things that haven't gone well, it's mostly on the technical side. On the technical side, there's like a few like technical. There's a few like decisions on how I did the code that I regret,
Yeah.
but those are mostly fixable. But just
Are those things you figured out, or are they sort of things that maybe like other people seeing the code have kind of highlighted?
yeah, there were some issues with the how the self hosting setup was done, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean, they were annoying to fix, but I've mostly fixed them by now.
Yeah. Well, there's always tech there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And yeah, just briefly, you mentioned just go back to your Indie Hackers post, and you mentioned there one of the things you did that worked really well was the embed, the iframe.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, on the demo site, on the marketing site, you don't have to like. I do have a link to my demo site on top, but I actually embed like an actual preview of my entire demo site just right there. So you don't have to. So the user immediately as they go on my site, they can see a fully working demo of my product.
Yeah, it's really cool
Yeah.
that I had a little play with it earlier, and I think like you said in the post, it's surprising that it's not done more often.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not done more often because usually people either have just a bunch of screenshots and a demo link, but when you go on a demo link, I mean, it's there. So like, why can't you just put it on your page?
Yeah, and it works particularly well for this. Almost like,
Yeah.
well, it replaces the need for you to have the big screenshot of the big hero image, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
just the actual
Yeah.
app, which is great. Cool. And anything that you would do differently next time? I guess in terms of the build, but the launch, just about
Yeah.
everything really.
You know, if I had known that like it would have gone relatively well, I would have like done this maybe a year or two earlier, actually.
Yeah.
Because like when I started this, like it wasn't like I was planning for months on how to do this. I sort of was like one week I was like I kind of want to do this, and then the next week I started building it. So you don't really need to have like some grand plan. You just have to start.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. Okay. Let's be good to chat like kind of a little bit about the kind of future as you see it for kind of Rybbit, but also for yourself. I mean, we've talked around this a little bit already, I suppose, but do you have some kind of sort of goals in your mind, short and long term for Rybbit?
Yeah. So goals are just to like grow at a sustainable pace. I'm not like VC backed or anything. I don't really have anything that's pressuring me to grow at like at any speed. But you know, I want to like keep on improving the product. I want to get better at distribution and marketing. But definitely, when I first started, I was like, if this can make like 10K MMR, I'd be happy. But I feel like my standards at that for that have increased a bit because I know my competitors are making a lot more than that.
Yep. That's the thing. You'll get there, and then You want to get to the next, the next milestone. And so kind of long term though, you intend to kind of hold on to this, bootstrap it. You're not kind of thinking I'm going to raise and try and kind of go big and get like an exit. I mean, never say never, right? But
yeah, I mean, of course, like right now, like I can't imagine myself not working on this and like selling it. But in 10 years, things might change. As for like VC funding, I mean, right now I have no plans to do it. But if it makes sense, why not? But like, if I do take funding, it won't be like I won't be trying to raise like a Series A, B, C, like D every single year and trying to like grow as fast as possible. What is likely going to happen if I go this route is I'll just get some rocket fuel from my seed round, maybe around like $1 million, and try to just be one and done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. And in terms of kind of, is there a kind of, in terms of, I guess more like in terms of the product, is there sort of a bigger vision that you have for it? I know you talked about kind of enterprise, but are there kind of related products you're thinking about here?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of like different niche web analytics verticals that are not really well serviced right now. I haven't done too much research, but there's definitely a bunch of companies that are making a ton of money, but like they're not really well known out there. So when you're not like competing directly with Google Analytics, like there's a lot of different ways you can go. So that's sort of a direction I could pivot in.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Once you get into kind of a space like this, you start to see all the kind of little niches and kind of, sort of opportunities within it, don't you? Great. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's been really kind of interesting just learning about all this. It's a really inspiring story, and it just seems like there's a great future ahead for Rybbit and for you. So yeah, just to kind of wrap things up, I mean, if you got have you got a kind of a sort of a tip or kind of like a message from maybe someone who's kind of in your shoes earlier on before they started building something, maybe the kind of early when you didn't even think you could do it, or if you were the right kind of person to kind of go into this, kind of what you might say to them?
Yeah, I would just tell them to try. I mean, it's really easy to just. Wait, are you asking the question from the perspective of a person that's just like doing computer science, doing programming, but not like doing any projects?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would just say try it, because it's usually people don't build projects because it's sort of scary, and it's not following the structured route of just going to school, taking classes, doing internships, getting a job. But and it's definitely like undefined. You have to like figure out things for yourself. But you should do it because it's definitely like a big resume boost if it works.
Yeah, right. Even if you just do it on the side, and obviously you would generally recommend starting something on the side than kind of like I don't know, betting the farm on it, and sort of quitting your job and kind of going all in from day one. Mm-hmm. That'd be a bit crazy. So absolutely, start something on the side and see where it goes. Great. And so Rybbit, remind me the URL.
Rybbit.io.
Great. So people
RYBBIT.io.
Perfect, because I think anyone listening, we all need web analytics, so they should have a look, and I think they'll be impressed. Great. And in terms of kind of like, if anyone just kind of wanted to ping you, sort of ask you something after this, I mean, where could they find you?
Yeah, they can. You can reach me on X. It's I think Yang _frog, and you can reach me on Discord as well, or on LinkedIn.
Great. Well, what we'll do when I've figured out how you can do show notes, I'll do that, and we'll get some links and put them in there so people have got those. So great. Well, thank you, Bill. It's been an absolute pleasure and super interesting learning about Rybbit and your background as well. Wish you all the best, and I'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.